Hello. For this project, I chose director Lasse Hallström. I wasn't very familiar with this director, but I am a big fan of his film What's Eating Gilbert Grape. So I decided to watch that one and two others of his work. For those of you who aren't familiar with director Lasse Hallström, he is a Swedish director, and he first became known for directing almost all of the music videos for pop group ABBA. He was also nominated for an Academy Award for the Best Director for Film, My Life as a Dog, and later for the film The Cider House Rules. Along with What's Eating Gilbert Grape, I also chose Hachi, A Dog's Tale, and An Unfinished Life. All three of these films capture a touching and emotional story about a family, and it uses different stylistic tactics to bring the story to life. All three of these films incorporate sound, camera angles, and lighting to create that raw emotion that these stories need. Ambient sound refers to the background noises present at a given scene or location, and that was from Backtracks.fm. All three films have ambient sound throughout the films because setting is a big part in telling these stories. The ambient sound makes the audience feel as though they are actually there and it draws them in. So here's an example from ambient sound that was used in What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Isn't she? Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she beautiful? You know something? The one on top of it is fine.
No, we want the big one! Big one! Yeah, come on, get us the big one! Come on, Mom, please!
Here you go, guys.
I want the big one.
Yeah, that's fine. It's changing. That's what's wild about the sunset.
So here you can hear the wind blowing and the birds chirping while Gilbert and Becky are talking at the sunset. But then you can also hear when they're getting ice cream. You can hear their feet walking, people talking, drinking, and eating their ice cream. You can even hear the lady's car running in the drive-thru. In the opening scene of An Unfinished Life 2, you can hear all the different sounds in the field, like the wind, people walking, and all the different animals. These sounds are all crucial to the detail of the setting of the scenes. A scene may be shot from several different camera angles simultaneously. This will give a different experience and emotions. The different angles will have different effects on the viewer and how they perceive the scene that is shot. The different angles used throughout these three films were close-ups, medium shots, wide shots, low-angle shots, and a POV shot. In both What's Eating Gilbert Grape and An Unfinished Life, there was a lot of wide shots used to show the whole scene and the setting in full. And there was a lot going on when both films were out in the field, so the camera had to capture everything in its entirety. For example, in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, when Arnie found his mother lying up in the attic, not breathing, then he ran out freaking out into the field, and it was all a wide shot to show the emotion that he was having, and then to show that both all of his brother and then his two sisters found him, and they were fighting him and trying to figure out what was wrong. So they were capturing the whole setting and also everyone's raw emotion freaking out about finding their mother. In Hachi, there was a lot of POV angles for seeing the world from the dog's perspective. The point of a POV shot is to show what a character is looking at in first person. The camera acts as the eyes of a character, and that was found in www.studiobinder.com. So here's an example from Hachi and how the POV shot was used in this movie's favor.
A long time ago, in the town my grandfather lived in, Hachi appeared at the train station. And that's where their story began.
So, here you can see everything from Hachi's eyes and understand how he could be feeling when he was trapped in the crate. You can see everything moving around him, and you can also, while he's trapped in the crate, feel as though he feels trapped. He doesn't know where he's going, he's seeing new, different locations, and he's just overwhelmed. So as an audience member who's watching, you're seeing through Hachi's eyes and experiencing everything that Hachi is experiencing at first hand. Metaphors are used to express a variety of emotions, images, and expressions by combining and comparing two different objects and situations. Sometimes the movie itself is a metaphor, which leaves the viewer to compare the various themes, characters, or scenes to a more relatable situation, found at literarydevices.net. In the movie An Unfinished Life, Mitch, who is portrayed by Morgan Freeman, was mauled by his own bear, and the main character, Einar, and Mitch's business partner for the field and farm, takes care of him. Einar lost his son in a car accident and blames his daughter-in-law for his death. His daughter-in-law, Jean, hasn't seen Einar since the death of her husband, but her current boyfriend, who is now her ex-boyfriend, was abusing her, so her and her daughter went back to Einar. The bear and Jean's ex-boyfriend are both a metaphor for the overall meaning of the story. As critic Roger Ebert said in his review, the four characters seem to be stuck, and then they're bugged by the arrival of two predators, the bear, who comes back, and so does Gary, the ex-boyfriend. The bear is more likable because, after all, he behaves according to his nature. Gary, the ex-boyfriend, on the other hand, is a psychopath, whose gearbox includes a setting for charm. So metaphors and meaning help create, overall in the movie what the audience can portray and understand what the movie is trying to refer to. And also I like the use of metaphors and meaning personally because I like when a film has a deeper and overall meaning than what we have seen on the screen. I like to perceive in a different route. So I think that's really cool and artistically cool. I personally like the use of voiceover narrations because you can hear the emotion in the character's voice while they're telling the story. Both What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Hachi use voiceover narrations from characters involved in the story. So for voiceover narration, here's an example from What's Eating Gilbert Grape, as main character Gilbert uses his voiceover to help set the scene and explain what we're about to get into for the story.
Gilbert, that's devil, Gilbert, look, it's down!
Describing Endora is like dancing to no music. It's a town where nothing much ever happens, and nothing much ever will. Lamson Grocery is where I work, and miles out of town on the interstate, there's Foodland, where everyone else shops. This is where I live with my family. My dad built the house, and it's my job to keep up the repairs. Doctors said we'd be lucky if Arnie lived to be 10. Well, 10 came and went. Now the doctors are saying, any time now. Arnie could go at any time.
So this is helpful because it helps set the scene and the tone of the story that's about to be told. There's different types of acting and techniques that actors like to use when they're trying to portray a certain role that they're not quite familiar with in their own, personal lives. So those different types of techniques include method acting, classical acting, Meisner technique, and Sherrick technique. Leonardo DiCaprio had the media roaring after his portray the role of an autistic boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, as we just saw a little bit of the taste of Leonardo DiCaprio's acting skills in that film. Because his character in this film had a mental disability, DiCaprio prepared for his role by visiting a home for kids with mental disabilities. While there, he took notes on each child and their mannerisms and how they acted within that home. And that was found on cunyonline.digica.com. Every actor has their own technique in order to prepare, and I think that's really cool and definitely needed in the film industry in order to make the story more realistic than what they're already trying to portray. Overall, these 3 films have the same concept of family and how each family has their difficulties. All have similar endings where something tragic happens but also something beautiful is created at the end. An Unfinished Life has a predictable storyline to it, where you were waiting and waiting and waiting for something horrible to happen, but it never did. Whereas the other 2 movies were surprising and shocked you with the unpredictable outcomes throughout the whole film. I think, personally, Lasse Hallström is a talented actor, and if you haven't already, you should go watch some of his works right after this presentation. Thank you.